Hi everyone, just muted there. Welcome to our first webinar. We plan to make these a regular occurrence, so watch this space. While we're waiting for other people to join, please let us know that you're here in the Q&A section. And also the first thing you're going to do when things go back to normal. We'll get started at about 10:05. Yeah. I plan on going camping with the family once the lockdown is eased enough. Usually by this time of the year we've been camping a couple of times. The weather's been excellent, so looking forward to going camping with the family and the dog and running around in some fields. So Lily's just posted that she is looking forward to meeting friends, meeting her friend's new puppy. Seems to be lots of people getting puppies during the lockdown. My neighbour got a new Labradoodle, which was quite lovely. Hi Adrian, hi Joni, thanks for coming, thanks for joining us. If you're unsure where the area is to post your hellos, it's over on the right hand side. We'll just give it a few more minutes for some more people to join. Hi there, Jason. Looking forward to organising some pre-season training for the under-17s rugby. Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking forward to getting back to recreational activities, sporting events. Personally, I'm into running and cycling. Had a couple of events cancelled, triathlons and marathons and things, so can't wait for them to get up and running again. Training's been a bit lax over the last couple of months. So yeah, looking forward to having something to train for again. Laura's mentioned pub. Yeah, I think we could all do with a trip to the pub. Hopefully they'll be open for the summer holidays. I'm hearing that somebody has no sound. I'm just checking to make sure that I'm unmuted. I was muted at the start. Apologies for that. Also, some issues with video quality. Let me just have a little look into this a second. Hi Camille, hi Rachel, hi Andrew. Morning Michael. Morning Simon. Hi Sarah, Sue, Sarah. Lots of people joining us. Welcome all. Rachel, this may sound daft, but commuting to the office. I've got a lovely drive. I enjoy the me time with an audiobook. It's not daft at all. I completely understand, completely with you there. Just having that commuting time is often the only time you get to yourself. Yeah, I think lots of us are looking forward to the commute back to work. You can see I'm back in the office today. I've been coming in 1 or 2 days a week, and we're starting to return to normal a bit here. There are 5 people in the office at any one time, which is a bit different from the usual 30 plus. But yeah, it's really nice to get back into the office. It's a good point. Okay, it's 10:05, so we're going to get started. Just like to introduce myself. I'm Robin. I head up the service team here at Nettitude. We're an outsourced IT service provider in the Southwest. I've been working in IT for about 15 years, and I've been using Teams as a user and administrator since its launch in March 2017. So our running order today, we're going to start with the basics. That should take us through to about past, just gone. We couldn't possibly cover everything here, but we've just chosen the coolest and most useful features. Then we'll have a short break and we'll cover apps and advanced features. That will go from 10:45 until about 11:05. Then we'll have another short break. And then we'll cover Teams live events, which is what we're using to present this webinar today. Quite a new feature from Teams from Microsoft. Really useful feature that a lot of people are interested in hearing about, I'm sure, today. And then 5 minutes of Q&A at the end to cover anything else off that anyone is interested in. If you've got any questions along the way, then the live event Q&A panel on the right-hand side is where you can ask questions. It is recorded. You can rewind, fast forward, speed up, slow down, dip in and out as you wish. And this is primarily a live feature demo. And in our experience, these things don't run quite like a TV program. So if we hit any technical issues, I might have to skip on for the sake of timing. Please bear with us. All the content and related information will be uploaded to the blog afterwards, and we'll send you a copy when it's live. We've got Laura and Lily manning the Q&A from our marketing team. They're ready to answer your questions. You've probably seen them replying already. So, why do we use Teams? Teams is part of the modern workplace suite of Microsoft 365. It's designed to enable your workers to increase productivity and collaborate wherever they might be located, all while remaining cyber secure. And Teams sits quite nicely in a sweet spot between email communication and verbal communication. We've all been there with our email inboxes really full up and things get pushed down to the bottom of the pile. We've all been on the receiving end of an email that hasn't been replied to. The email has become that sort of type of communication that is not so urgent. If you've got an urgent communication to make with a colleague, then often we'll pick up the phone, or before the pandemic, we'd go over to somebody's desk. But this can often interrupt, and it's usually saved for urgent communication. So Teams sits right in the middle. It's real-time communication. It's not urgent, but it also can be used when working remotely to get somebody's attention. It's really the perfect tool for remote working and office working alike. Teams also replaces Skype for Business in the Microsoft 365 platform, which was used for audio and video conferencing. And it also replaces Skype's predecessor, MSN Messenger, as the instant messaging platform, for those of you who remember that. So in the first part of our feature demo, we're going to cover some basics of Teams for those people who've not used it before. Don't forget that Lily and Laura are available for questions using the Q&A area on the right-hand side. We couldn't possibly cover everything, like I said earlier, but I've picked what I believe are the most useful bits on and how we and our customers use Teams. So using our willing volunteers, just log in a second. Teams is primarily a one-to-one chat instant messaging platform. So I can quickly send a message to a colleague by selecting the colleague from the chat section of Teams. You can search for that colleague at the top if I can't find them. Click the colleague's name, and then in the text box at the bottom of the screen, type a new message. And then my colleague can reply to the message, see the colleague is typing, and then it appears on the screen. We can also create group conversations simply by clicking on the Add People icon at the top right-hand side. And I'll type my colleague's name and click Add. And then we've created a dynamic group conversation. And once we've started typing in this conversation, we can also rename that group to something more memorable by clicking this icon at the top, Name Group Chat. Let's call it something relevant. And we can then search for that group later on using the search function above. It also gives the members of that conversation some context as to what the group chat is about. Recently launched feature in Teams is this pop-out conversation, pop-out chat feature. So at the top right-hand side, you've got this icon here, click the pop-out, and then you've got a new window available to continue that conversation. If you, like me, have many things going on in Teams at any one time, you can continue using Teams with your chat conversation still open in the other window. To alert others of your current status, you can set a status message from your profile icon. At the top right-hand side, click your avatar and then set status message and type a status. You can also set the status to expire at a particular point in time, so you might be at lunch all this week, and then click done, and then whenever somebody goes to message you, it will show as your status. Whilst in the chat window, you can also launch a video or an audio phone call. In order to do that, you click the video call button. It will prompt you with this screen showing you that it's making a call, and then the recipient can answer with video or audio. These status messages are showing because I'm using a demo environment where I don't have a microphone. But I can see my video webcam down the bottom here, and once it's connected, you'll see the video webcam of the other person at the end of the conversation. If for some reason we decide that we don't want cameras, we can turn the camera off and they won't see your webcam by clicking the camera icon down at the bottom. We can also switch to text chat by clicking the speech bubble. We can add additional participants by clicking show participants and type invite someone at the top, and we can hang up the call when we're done. Another great feature of this part of Teams is the ability to be able to share your screen with other people. This is great if you're trying to explain something that's on your screen, or if you need to ask for help from one of your colleagues. So if you click this screen sharing icon at the top right hand side, choose which screen you want to share, either a screen or a specific application. I'm going to share my whole screen this time. On the other end, you are asked to accept the screen share. Just show you the other end of the screen. And once it's connected, you have the ability to see the other person's screen. Okay, that doesn't appear to be working at the moment. Moving on. Oh, there we go. And once you've finished sharing your screen, you can click the cross button and it stops the screen share. So once you've been using Teams for a little while, slight technical issue here, bear with me 1 second. Okay. Once you've been using Teams for a little while, you might have lots and lots of chat history. So you might want to search your chat history for something that someone said once upon a time. So at the top here, you've got this search box, very top of the Teams screen. So simply type in a search string and hit enter. And then on the left-hand side, it will show you all of the messages that have that search string within it, going all the way back to the very beginning of when you started using Teams. You can also search for people within the search box. Another great feature of this chat window is the ability to be able to bookmark messages. So if you know at the time that something is going to be very important and you want to save it for later, then click the 3 buttons, the 3 dots, more options button, when highlighting the message, and then click save this message. All of your saved messages can then be accessible, accessed if you click on your profile icon and then click saved. And on the left-hand side, you've got all of your saved messages from when things have been saved in the past. You can also mark a message as unread, much like you can in Outlook. If you know something needs to be dealt with later on, mark it as unread, and then the message appears in bold so that you know that there's something that is for your attention. So those are the main features of the chat function. I'm now going to cover some features of the Teams section of Microsoft Teams. Before I do, I just want to make a point about creating teams. It's very difficult to unpick a messy team structure after the fact, so it's really important to get it right at the very start. You should consider the audience and the sensitivity of the data that's contained within a team before creating it. Because when you create a team, you need to decide whether it's a public team, that is, information is available to anyone in the organization, or a private team, that is, the information is only available to the members of that team. So you'd use private to restrict access. An example of that might be senior management team, where you might store things like an HR file. It's important as well to have an all company team so that you've got somewhere to post information that is company wide. And also consider using channels within a departmental team, for example, for big projects or specific areas of communication, rather than creating a new team. I speak from experience. We did once upon a time have lots and lots of teams. We've slimmed that down now to just departmental teams with lots of channels within. There's a very useful blog post on how to structure teams written by Michael Heyman, my colleague, our VITD. That's available on our website. Go and have a look, check it out. So how do we create teams? The bottom left-hand side of the Teams section of Teams, you have this Join or Create a Team button. click Join or Create a Team. Create a team. Now I'm going to build a team from scratch because I don't already have a group or team. I'm going to make this public, and I'm going to give the team the name of my company. So I've created the team. By creating the team, I am the owner of the team, but the team doesn't contain any members until we start adding members into the team. So I will start adding my colleagues into the team, and they are being added by default as members. A member is able to view everything that is available, everything that is stored within the team. An owner is able to add and remove members or owners from the team. Just add a few more people into this team. And we have our new team. When a team is created, a general channel is created where you have an area for conversations, you have a file storage area, and also a wiki. So within a team, you have channels. To create a channel, click on the More Options 3 buttons next to the team, add a channel, call the channel something relevant, and then you choose here whether the channel is accessible to everyone on the team or whether it's only accessible to a specific group. I'm going to make this one available to everybody. Now this button here is quite important. If it's something that you want everyone to be able to see, rather than it be hidden and someone have to look for it, then you click this automatically show this channel in everyone's list. Click Add, and it creates a new channel below the name of the team. Again, it will create an area for conversations, for files, and a wiki. The conversations area of the Teams channel is much like a chat. However, the slight difference here is that when you start a conversation, other members of the team can reply to that conversation and create a conversation thread. So, for example, Sam has posted, great to see everyone using Teams, and then his colleague can reply to that team message. And it appears below, grouping that conversation together. If a new conversation is being started that is not relevant to a previous conversation, then you start that conversation down below rather than hitting the reply button. If you want to open the conversation up to external people, there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can either create an email address for a channel by clicking the three dots, More Options, Get Email Address. Then 365 will create an email address specifically for that channel. Then whenever anyone sends an email to that email address, it will appear in the conversation. You can also invite external non-company contacts into a team. And the way you do that is, as a team owner, add a member. But this time, instead of searching for a user, type in their email address and then add somebody, in this example, as a guest. Click add. Then it will send that recipient an invitation to join the team. They have to go through an email verification process, and then they can join in on the conversation in that channel. I'm just going to cover a few more points and then I'll answer some questions that are coming up. In fact, I may do that now whilst. Oh, okay. Please try again later. Close that button. Also within Teams conversation, you can mention somebody if something you're going to say is important to that person. So for example, I might want to mention Susan, so I type @Susan, click on Susan's name, and then type the message to Susan. And on Susan's side, an alert will come up in her activity icon showing that somebody has mentioned their name. She may also get an email depending on notification settings. We can also change formatting options by clicking the A in the paintbrush button. So we can embolden a message, use italics, change the font size. And one of the most important features, and one of the features that we use here at Nettitude on a regular basis, is the ability to be able to collaborate with our colleagues on files. So within the Teams channel, you have this files area. If you upload a Office file, like a Word, Excel or PowerPoint file to within this area, and then open that file from within Teams, you can edit the file directly inside the Teams interface. At the same time, your colleague can have the same file open in their Teams, and they can be editing in real time. As that person starts collaborating on that file, I can see their name appear. I can also chat to that person, and I can see all of the text that they're editing in real time. I can also open this file in the desktop application if I prefer. So that's brought us to the end of the first part of the demo. I'm just going to answer a few of the questions that have come up now. Okay. Okay, Rachel, so with respect to inviting external non-company contacts, I had to contact Nettitude to ask them to unlock the ability. Yes, by default, being able to invite guests is disabled in Teams as a security feature. An administrator of your Teams platform can turn this back on for you. There are various features that allow you to control that in other ways. But yeah, your IT administrator will be able to resolve that for you. What retention options are there for these messages? My organisation require email to be archived. So within the 365 environment, you have the compliance center, and with an enterprise license, you have lots of options to change retention. By default, retention is 2 years, I believe, for Teams messages, but you can turn this up to as long as you need. We also recommend using a third-party backup application to back up your 365 environment. It's unlikely that Microsoft aren't going to be there, but in the event that something happens, you can recover data from this third-party backup tool. Examples are StorageCraft or Veeam. Lots of the backup providers now provide a 365 backup, which can also be used as an archiving tool. Can the additional external team member have a Gmail or Hotmail account rather than a Microsoft? You can create a Microsoft account using any email address. So a Hotmail account is actually a personal Microsoft account, so you can use that by default. Using a Gmail account, they would need to create a Microsoft account that is associated with that Gmail account. What is a wiki? Good point. Wikipedia is the best example of what a wiki is. It's simply a place to store information about a task or something that's important. It's a very simple text editor, really. Okay, just reading some of the other questions. Looking forward to sitting on a Spanish beach. Me too. Having friends over, going to dinner, friends again, yeah, me too. Is it possible to check in documents directly from Teams yet? As far as I know, that feature has not been released. It's been on the roadmap for some time. You still have to go into SharePoint in order to check documents in and out. Much like the 9 people on the screen feature, it is very close to being released. It may even have been released whilst I've been talking, but yes, it is definitely coming. Teams won't let me edit work by default. Thanks, Adrian, for that question. Word will be view only. So this is a setting within the 365 environment that you can change as an administrator. The best course of action there is to contact your IT systems administrators and ask for them to update that setting. Also, if the Word document is opened in view only, you should be able to click Edit Document and it should switch over to edit mode. What happens if you operate 2 Office 365 accounts? Council and Work, can they sync? Windows 10 allows you to synchronize files from a personal Office 365 and an Office 365 for business, and you can add additional accounts in there as well. If you're talking about synchronizing files between the two, you would have to manually move those two because 2 Office 365 tenants exist entirely separate from each other. Okay, I think I've covered a few questions there. I'm going to move on to the next section of the live demo. So back to our willing volunteer, Samuel Lestrange. So a couple of somewhat unknown features coming up here. The search bar at the very top of Teams can be used to issue commands to Teams as well as search for users or messages. For example, we might say /DND, enter, and that sets my status immediately to do not disturb, saving a few mouse clicks by clicking the profile icon, hovering over the status here, choosing do not disturb. We could also use /unread, and that will show me all of the unread messages in my activity feed. We don't currently have any at the moment. To see a list of commands that are available to you, simply type / and then you have a whole list, and they're constantly adding more commands to this list. Teams also has a vast array of keyboard shortcuts. If you press Control and full stop, it will bring up a list of keyboard shortcuts for you to use. One of the ones that I quite regularly use is the zoom in, zoom out, depending on the type of screen that I'm using. So we can click Control+, 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 and it zooms in. Control 0 resets it back, much like you would do in a web browser. By default, Teams notifications are set up in such a way that you might not be notified of the important information. So it's important, much like you would with Facebook or WhatsApp, to go to the notification settings for Teams. If you click on the profile icon again, click Settings, and then halfway down Notifications, and then choose how you want to be notified. Banner and email means that you'll be notified in the Windows 10 notifications box, and also you'll have an email sent to you. Banner is specifically just Windows 10 notification box. And then only show and feed, don't show me any notifications, just put it into my activity icon. Another cool feature that was announced quite recently was the ability to follow a person's status. So you can see whether somebody is available or they're offline. This is particularly useful at the moment, whilst we're all working remotely and we can't see if our colleagues are just sat at their desk or whether they popped out. So if we click on this Manage Notifications and then type the user you want to be notified, then whenever Susan goes on or offline, I will have a notification to show me. Just quickly demonstrate that by setting my status as away. Okay, slight technical issue there. So what can we also do? We can also check our personal calendar within Teams, and this is quite a handy feature. Rather than switching backwards and forwards between Teams and Outlook, we can quickly click on the calendar icon on the left-hand side, and then it shows our personal calendar. You can change the view from day to working week to week. Currently, Teams only supports viewing your own personal calendar rather than being able to view other team members or group calendars. There is a feature update that is getting a lot of traction at the moment that will allow you to see multiple calendars like you can within Outlook, but currently you can only see your own. So from within the calendar view, we can create a Teams meeting. A Teams meeting is a meeting that allows people to join by webcam or by audio. And if you have the audio conferencing license, then they can also join by a dial-in phone number. To create a Teams meeting, at the top right-hand side, click on New Meeting, and then you fill out the meeting details, much like you would in an Outlook meeting appointment. Choose your attendees. A location, if you're also holding it in a physical location, some details of the meeting, and then send the meeting. When it comes around to joining the meeting, you can join simply by clicking on the meeting and join. It will also appear in your activities if somebody starts a meeting, and you can click join now. Whenever you join a Teams meeting, you're prompted to check your webcam, whether you want your microphone on or off, and also whether you want to blur your background. Click join and then you're in the meeting. Currently, Sam is the only person in the meeting, so you can just see his own face. Once other people join, then you'll be able to see them too. Now, if you have an enterprise license and access to Microsoft Stream platform, you can actually record the meeting so that it's stored as a video file for review later. To do that, you click the three dots, more actions, button and then click Start Recording. There'll be a notification at the top of the screen saying that you're recording this meeting, or if you're being recorded, that the meeting is being recorded. And by joining, you give consent to this meeting to be recorded. And we can stop the recording at any time. So before a meeting starts, we can use the meeting notes feature to create an agenda. We can also use the meeting notes feature to take meeting minutes during the meeting. So in order to do that, we can click More Actions, Show Meeting Notes, and then click Take Notes. And just start typing. And then these notes are available before, during, and after the meeting, simply by going back to the meeting, either in your calendar or in your chat history. Whenever Teams decides to minimize your video screen because you've asked it to move to a different area, you can click back on the video screen and it brings you back to the video view. To end the meeting, click Hang Up, and you will leave the meeting. The meeting will continue to carry on until the last person leaves the meeting, and then you'll be notified that the meeting has ended, how long the meeting was, and if there is a meeting recording, how to get hold of the meeting recording. Meeting notes are available in the Meeting Notes tab. You can also share files, just like you would in a team or within a conversation. If you prefer to use Outlook to create a Teams meeting, there is an Outlook add-in that is installed whenever you install Teams that allows you to create a Teams meeting rather than a standard meeting. So create a meeting in the normal way and then choose Teams meeting in this top icon and give the meeting a name and invite your attendees. Click send, and that creates the same kind of meeting. Finally, there is a really great help section in Teams, one of the best help sections on any application that Microsoft produces, largely because there's an awful lot of features, and some of them take a little bit of getting used to. So within help, you've got help topics. This is where you can search the help library for a particular topic. You've also got training. If you're not sure where to start, then you can just head straight to the training section and start watching some videos on what Teams is, how to get your Teams up and running, all the way down to the more advanced features. And Teams is constantly changing, so this What's New section within the help of Teams is really useful. You can see that, only last week there was a huge update with lots of new features available. All of the bleeding edge features available here in the What's New section. So I'm going to answer a few more questions now before we have a short break. Okay. Is it possible to set up notifications in such a way that I get them once an hour rather than when they arrive? That's a very good question, Rachel. Yeah, Laura's answered nicely there with the focus assist. It suppresses all notifications during certain times. So you could set that up to during a period of productivity, and then all of the notifications will appear afterwards. You might be able to use Microsoft Flow as well to collate all of the notifications and then send them in one bulk. Do Microsoft start charging for new email addresses when teams create them? No, they don't. Office 365 group email addresses and shared mailboxes are all free at the moment. They've not made any mention of the fact that they're going to start charging for them. Microsoft's subscription platform is based on a user-based subscription model, so every individual user needs to be licensed, as opposed to every mailbox or group or team. Deborah's got a question: quick setup, simple guidance for external users joining Teams and live meetings. So earlier on, I touched on how we add an external user. By inviting an external user to a team or a team meeting, that kicks off a email verification process with your Office 365 environment. So the end guest user or external user will receive an email in their inbox saying such and such wants to invite you to their Active Directory. When they click on the accept invitation, they're then prompted to use their Microsoft account or create a Microsoft account with which to join that organization. If they've already got an Office 365 account, then they'll just log into that. And once they've followed that process, there'll be an external or guest user that will be available to anyone who wants to invite an external or guest user to a team or to a meeting or to a Teams live event. If you want to invite external users to a Teams live event, then you use the link that's generated during the Teams live event creation process, and I'll cover that in a bit more detail later on when we go into some more detail on live events. What happens to the recording? Where is it stored? So the recording is stored within the Microsoft Stream application, and it's also available within the team, within the Teams meeting. So if I just pop back to the Teams meeting we created earlier, and in the chat for that particular meeting, you can see underneath the meeting ended, you've got the recording that was recorded during the meeting. If you click that recording, then it opens Microsoft Stream, and it just starts playing the recording. You can change your playback quality and speed. If you go into Stream, you can then download the recording as well. And you can share, get the link. There's a few options available to you from within Teams. Simon, when you make notes, are they private or shared? Notes within a Teams meeting notes, are available to everybody that is a participant in that meeting and to your IT system administrators. If you want to make private notes, I would recommend using OneNote. When you open OneNote for the first time, it creates a private OneNote that's only available to you. You can then share those notes later on, or even attach them to a team. Wow, lots of questions. This is great. Nikki, can everyone in the meeting see the notes whilst they're being typed? Yes, this is much like all the other collaboration features within Office 365. As you're typing them, they appear on everyone else's screens. Sometimes the synchronization can take a little bit of time with meeting notes. It's not quite as real time as OneNote or Word, but they do appear, yes. How do you change the background? Oh, Lily's replying to this. Which background do you mean? I think. Camille, I created a Teams meeting with external email accounts, but one of the users' video and microphone didn't work. even though it's switched on and Zoom worked. She was in the US and on a Mac. Have you heard of this? There have been several occasions where Teams has been a little bit wobbly for some people. It's a much more complex application than Zoom. Zoom is very simple, and its simplicity is its sort of strength, really. The first thing we would always recommend in that situation is to turn the machine off and on again and try again. Quite often that will resolve any hardware or software-based issues. But yes, I have seen some occasions when people's webcams haven't quite worked. One thing I would say though is that Teams has seen an enormous increase in the number of users that are using Teams, and Microsoft servers were initially struggling to keep up with the demand, and they seem to be getting back on top of that now, which is great. So we should see issues like that tailing off a bit now. George, checking out a document locks it so that you can only edit it, so you check back in. This works in SharePoint, not in Teams. This functionality is due to be added to Teams soon. Yes, there is a feature request open for this. It is a little bit frustrating, George. You're right that you can't check in and check out documents, because if somebody's checked out a document, you can't do a great deal with it in Teams. The community are crying out for this feature, and I'm sure it's going to be coming soon, and that will unlock a lot of the things that hamper the collaboration features of Teams. Teams will be constantly gathering and storing data. Will this data be held within the UK? Very, very good point there. So you can request that your Teams or your whole Microsoft 365 tenant is stored within a particular geographic zone. When you created the original tenant, you will have been asked at that point where you want it to be stored. If it was created before a certain point, it's likely it's in the EU somewhere. And Microsoft recently announced that you can request for it to be moved to the UK. That process can take up to 18 months to 2 years, according to Microsoft. So if you are looking to do that, I would initiate that process sooner rather than later. It may well take less time than that, but Microsoft are, I think, just covering their backs a little bit. But you can decide where the data is stored, yes. Can you delete the video? Oh, Lily's answered that one. Thank you, Lily. Yes, you can. The owner can do it. In terms of data governance, is there a way for DPOs to see all teams created across an organization? Yes, you can be assigned the Teams administrator role or a compliance administrator role within the Office 365 environment, and that will give you the ability to see all information that is stored, who has created the information. So yes, the Microsoft 365 environment and the Azure environment from Microsoft have a huge number of security roles that are available, all very specific to your particular job role. And one of those, some of those are focused specifically around governance and data protection officers. If you set up a meeting via calendar function, how does it save to the chat? Is this automatic? Just get my head around that one a second. So the chat is generated whenever you create a meeting. So the chat is tied to that meeting. So yes, it is automatically created, and any information that is typed in this chat window will be tied to that meeting forever. Okay, in the interest of time, are we going to move on now? Intended to start this section at 10:45, so we'll probably just move swiftly on to the next session, skipping the intermission. So the next section then is around tabs, apps, and the advanced features. A little bit shorter than the section we had before. Teams can be extended beyond its built-in functionality by utilising the other Microsoft 365 features and components, and also third-party applications, making it really sort of unlimited in its functionality. It can even be turned into a fully fledged VoIP phone system, but that's a tutorial for another time, all of its own. So these additional functions and features can be split into two main types. We've got tabs and connectors. Tabs appear at the top of a channel, and connectors either appear on the left as an application or as an independent app. On the left as an independent app, or they extend the functionality of Teams in some way. So I'm going to show you a few features or extensions that we can use in our live demo environment. First one being the ubiquitous SharePoint. A SharePoint was originally created as a company infrastructure environment, and we can create intranet environment, and we can create an intranet page and publish it within a team and pin it to the team as tabs. So to add a tab, we go to the team, go to the channel we want the tab to appear, click on the plus button, and then if we're adding a SharePoint tab, if I spell it correctly, type in SharePoint at the very top, click on SharePoint, and then all of the SharePoint pages or lists that we have access to are available for me to select. So I'm going to select this Welcome to the Frontline Team page. I also want to post to the channel about this tab when it's created, so everybody knows that it's available to them. Click on Save, and now that page is available to everybody in that team. I can also click this down arrow, tab options, and rename the tab. Call it something relevant. And I can also remove that page so it's no longer available to the team channel. We can also add other 365 features or applications, such as the hugely underused Planner application. Planner is a Kanban-based project management system, helps your team stay organized when they're delivering projects, helps you to assign tasks, keep track of progress. So we can either create a new plan that is tied to the team, or we can use an existing plan that has already been created within the team. And I've created one earlier. Again, we can select a post to the channel about this tab, click Save, and then all of the functionality that's available in Planner is now in front of us in Teams. So we don't need to go to the web page to work with our plan. We can assign tasks. We can show information and statistics about the plan. We can look at the schedule for the plan and even move schedules around. We can add tasks, set due dates, all the functionality that would be available in the website. If we did want to launch into the web version of Planner, then we can simply click this globe button on the top right hand side, and this is true of any tab that we add. Click the globe button on the right hand side and it will take us to the full Planner website. Again, we can remove by drop down, move. And with Planner, we can also decide to permanently delete the plan if we're done with the plan. I'm not going to in this case. You can also add things like Microsoft Flows. Microsoft Flow is a trigger and action engine that's built into Microsoft 365. An example of a flow might be alert me when I'm mentioned in Microsoft Teams. I've pinned this to this team, to this channel, so that other people can also use this flow. I can go into the flow and edit flow owners. I can see the run history of that flow. And I can also create new flows by going back. And then new, create from template, or create blank. Another great feature is being able to add things from outside of Office 365, like YouTube, for example. So I want to add a YouTube video. Search for YouTube, click add, and then paste in the link for the YouTube video. Search, and then save. And here we have Special Performance by Sam, tied to the top of that team. And again, we can rename it. Something a bit more easy to digest. Oops. And again, remove it. We can also add a Power BI report or dashboard. Power BI fast becoming the reporting engine for the world. I've got an example Power BI available here that I'm going to pop in. You can either show a report or dashboard that's saved in a workspace or an app. So click on the apps section and then choose the app and click save. And then we have a read-only version of the application with the filters pane on the right-hand side. We're not able to edit the Power BI report or application from here, but we can look at all of the different pages that are available, and we can do things like drill down and filter, full screen. And if we wanted to open the report or the application in the Power BI web page, then again you just click the globe icon in the top right hand corner and it takes you straight in to Power BI. Okay, and then again drop down, remove. So now we're going to take a quick look at the Shifts application, which is a largely unknown and unused application within Teams, but offers the great ability of creating rotas, all straight from within Teams. And once you start using Teams on a daily basis, it ties in quite nicely with sending people updates and making requests for a shift, for example. So to get to shifts, you click on this more options and then you click on the Shifts app. Now to create shifts, you need to tie a shift pattern with a team, and anybody who's going to be associated with the shifts pattern needs to be in that team. So if we're creating a shift pattern for everybody in the company, then we might create a new schedule under the company team. So to create a new shift pattern, we go to Schedules, New Schedule, Create, confirm the time zone, and it will create the Shifts application within that team. And now we've got the shifts associated with that team. We can then add users or members into the group who we want to give access to these open shifts. So to add a member to the group, we click this plus person over here, and then add. we might want to give this group a name, office working, for example. This is a shift pattern that we at Netitude are using currently to make sure that we've got only 5 people working at the office at any one time. So we have a number of open shifts, and then people will send a request for those shifts, and then we can approve them on a Friday afternoon to make sure that we've got no more than 5 people during the following week. So to create a shift, you hover over the day in the open shifts area, click the 3 dots, more options, add an open shift, put in the timings for the shift, put the break time or any other activities. I'm going to make this shift in the future so that we can actually assign someone to it. You can add labels, you can change the colour, and click save, and it will create a shift in the open shifts area. If we want to create another one, then click on the more options button again, add an open shift, and then we'll make this one a different shift time. And perhaps this shift has 2 slots available, and so 2 people can occupy this shift. So we change the number of slots to 2 and click save. I'm going to change the colour of this one just to make it a bit more interesting. So now we have 2 open shifts available to our 2 members under the office working group. So that's all well and good for one day, but obviously shift patterns are often repeated day to day. So how do we copy those shifts to another day? In order to copy shifts, we can use this copy schedule option at the top right hand side. Select the date range you want to copy. In this example, we're just copying the 4th of June, and then the destination date. Now you can only choose a single destination date at the moment. There is a feature request open for being able to copy 1 to multiple days, but currently you have to choose just 1 day. So that will copy the 4th to the 5th. Click the copy button, and then they appear. And if you wanted to copy those 2 to the following week, click copy, choose those 2 days, copy to the following week, and then they'll appear in the following week's open shifts. Once you have created your shifts, you then need to publish those shifts to the team so that the team can actually see the open shifts and request to be assigned to the shift. So the way that we do that is click the share with team asterisk at the top right hand side. The asterisk indicates what has changed since the last time the shifts were shared. So in this case, everything's changed, so everything has an asterisk. When I click share, I can choose which days to share with my team and how many open shifts are being shared or edited, and also whether to share that to your entire team or only affected team members. When you click share, that then publishes the shift pattern available for these members to select. If you want to see what your members can see, then if you click the 3 buttons and then view shared schedule, then it shows the published shift. Because as an owner of the team, you can both create shifts and also assign or request shifts. So I'll just show you what that looks like from the other perspective. So here's our colleague Susan, and I'm going to show the Netitude IT schedule to see on a weekly basis. Here are the open shifts. If I want to request a shift, I click on the shift and click request. That then goes back to the owner of the schedule, which is Samuel, and I'm alerted in the activity section here that Susan has requested a shift. There's a little bit of a time delay, so that hasn't appeared in the feed yet, but that will appear in the feed, and then I can review and approve or deny those shift requests. I can also manually assign shifts to a particular person. So if I choose, I can see the request there now. I choose this shift and then assign open shift, choose the person I want to assign it to. It appears in their row, and then share with team so that everybody knows that shift has been assigned. There are lots more options available within the shifts application, but I've just done a whistle-stop tour there just to give you a bit of an overview. So what else can we attach to Teams? Well, the list is huge. If we go to the 3 dots, more added apps, and then more apps here, we can see the huge list of things that we can associate with Teams. Something that might be quite useful for those marketing moguls out there is the Google Analytics connector. So if we search for Google, click Google Analytics, add to team, choose the team that we want to associate this with, and the channel that we want to associate it with, set up the connector. It will then prompt us to log in to our Google account. So I've set up a Google account here under Sam's name. Click the sign in button. It will then take us to Google sign in experience, ask us to allow access to the Google account because we're going between different software vendors here. Choose the account, choose the website property, and then we can choose how frequently we want to receive Google Analytics updates into that channel conversation. I've chosen daily here. And now we can see that Google Analytics has been added to the channel. It's a test account, so it's just been quickly removed. But if this was a real account, then you'd see your website metrics being posted to this channel every day. Another one that's quite cool is the fact that you can add Zoom into Teams. Now you might prefer Zoom over Teams. It certainly has some strengths over Teams. It's a lot more simple to use, straightforward, a lot easier for people to join. So you can add Zoom as an application connection, and it appears as an app on the left-hand side of your screen here. You can also sign into your Zoom account if you have one, so you can see any recurring meetings or invite people to meetings using your personal meeting ID. And from within a chat window, you can ask somebody to launch into a Zoom meeting with you rather than joining or creating a Teams video conference call. So that covers the second part of our webinar, tabs, apps and advanced features. I'm going to switch over now to some questions. Keeping an eye on time. Okay, so just scrolling down a second. If you have to set up a meeting via calendar, say, oh, sorry, covered that one already. Well, lots and lots of questions. I think I may have missed a question earlier, so I'm just scrolling back. Okay, just losing track out there. Okay, do you need a paid Power BI license to add a report to a team? Laura's answered this question. Yes, you do indeed, George. Power BI Pro license. So Lily's asked me to cover a question that was asked earlier on about Teams meeting with external email accounts, but one of the users' video and microphone didn't work, even though it was switched on. Zoom worked. So again, Teams does definitely have some niggles still with hardware integration. One of the best options, just like in any situation, is to restart your machine or restart Teams to try and resolve things like that. Okay, we're going to have a short intermission now, and we'll get started on Teams live events in about 10 minutes at 11:25. If there are any questions in between now and then, I'll cover those when we get back. Hi again all. Just a couple more points that have come up in Q&A that I wanted to cover. Thanks Ian for that comment. It's a very good point. It's also it's worth mentioning that if you're using a webcam or a microphone with another application like Zoom, it will take control of that hardware, so you can't use it in Teams. So you need to make sure that all other applications that might use your media are closed. Yeah, so I think we'll get cracking on the next bit now, which is a live demo of Teams live events. It's a new feature of Teams that we're using for this webinar today, and it's a platform that we've been using for our own all hands meetings since the lockdown as well. It can also be useful for classroom or training events. It's essentially it's a webinar platform with a maximum of 10,000 attendees. It features a DVR, like video recorded like experience for attendees, so that they can pause, rewind, speed up, slow down, or review video for up to 180 days after the event. The key difference between live events and a Teams meeting is that you can't see or hear the attendees other than the Q&A section where they can write a question and we can answer it. The attendees are passive participants. If you want to see the attendees, then a Teams meeting is useful instead. Now, one of the limitations of a Teams meeting is that you can only see 9 people at any one time. So you might want to consider using Zoom instead. However, Zoom versus Teams conversation also came up in our question and answers earlier. We've written a blog on this on our website. The main difference really is security. So if you want to host a meeting that may contain sensitive information, then you're better off using Teams. If you want to host a meeting that doesn't contain sensitive information, then Zoom is your best option. So here at Nestitude, we would use a Teams live event for our all hands event, because we're talking about financial information and internal information. Whereas on a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, where we have a pub quiz and we tell jokes to each other, we use Zoom for that instead, because we can see more people's faces. So, Teams live events. How do we use it? Just flip over now to my training environment here. So within the calendar section of Teams, you can create meetings, as we mentioned earlier, but if you drop down this arrow here, you can also create live events. It's worth saying at this point that this is only available to you if you have the correct licensing associated with your account, and that is any enterprise license. So Office 365 and E1, Office 365 E3, etc. To create a live event, click Live Event, and you, much like you would create a meeting, you can give it a title. A location if you're hosting the event in a physical location as well. A start date and an end start date and time, and an end date and time. And then importantly, here you invite other people within your organization who are going to be part of the event group. So what different roles do we have within a Teams live event? There are 4 roles. The first one is the organizer role, and that is whoever creates the live event. By default, the organizer becomes the producer. And then there is also the presenter role, and the last role is attendee. Producers and presenters are able to talk, present their screen, and also change what is available to attendees on the screen. And attendees who join by the link can only see what's available on the screen. So if I want to add Susan as a presenter, I type Susan's name and then click, and they're added as a presenter. I can then also change their role to producer. But in this case, I'm going to use presenter to demonstrate the difference between the two. When I click next, I'm then presented with options. So the first thing to decide is whether the live event is available to specific people or specific groups, like a team, for example, whether it's available to your entire organization, or whether it's a public event available to everyone outside of your organization, like this one. This is grayed out because by default, that permission is not allowed in the administrative area of Teams. In order to enable that, you need to talk to your IT systems administrators, and they can turn that on a per user basis using policies. In this case, we're going to create an organization-wide event. Then we have some options for production. Do we want to make the recording available to attendees? Yes or no? Do we want an attendee engagement report? That's who joined, when they joined, their email address, etc. Do we want to enable the Q&A feature or not? This option here, external app or device, is if you're using professional recording equipment in an auditorium, for example. We won't cover that in this live demo, just the webcam option. And then you can put in a URL here for who to contact if you've got some issues with accessing as an attendee. Down at the bottom, click on the schedule button and it creates the Teams live event. Now, importantly, you have this Get Attendee Link button here, and this is the link that you send to those people who are going to be viewing the live event only. Do not send them the join event link that you and your other event group members will use to join, because they will see everything in the back end of the Teams live event. So once you've got the attendee link, you can send that link to your attendees, and until the event is live, they will see, as you did earlier on, a live event has not started screen. Okay, so what do we do when we want to start the live event? So we go into the live event in our calendar, join the live event, and we get to choose here whether we want our webcam and our microphone turned on and join. And by default, when you join a live event, the live event is not started. It's in a pre-live mode, as you can see at the top here. On the left-hand side of a producer's screen, you see the queue, which is video or content that you want to send to the live screen but is not yet on the screen. And on the right-hand side, you see exactly what your attendees are able to see. So at the moment, they're seeing that the live event has not started. I need to add content to the queue and then send to live before I can start the event. So I might just want to send my webcam. So I click on the webcam and then send live. And now it's available to our attendees once we click the Start Live Event button. When you click Start Live Event and it warns you of this, you cannot stop and start the live event or pause it. It continues until it's ended, and when you click End, the only way to create another live event is by creating a new live event. Well, the only way to start a new one is to create a new one. So you need to be sure that you're ready to start, and that's the idea of this pre-live environment. I strongly recommend that you do a dress rehearsal like we did yesterday, during which time you can invite some neutral attendees just to see what the experience is like from their end. It's also a good opportunity to practice using the producer view. It does take a little bit of getting used to. So say we wanted to add some content into our queue. How do we do that? Well, let's first find some content that we want to share. So we go back to our special performance by Kermit. Okay, and then we go back to Teams. And then at the bottom here, I click Share. Then I choose that particular application. And once again, as before, whenever choosing to share content on your screen, Teams will minimize your previous video view. So just go to the bottom right-hand corner and click this area, and it will bring you back to your producer view. If we want to add this content then to our queue, you need to choose the content and then click Send to Live. If we want to, like we have done here, display a presenter as well as the content, then you can choose this Content Left option. Click this section, choose the presenter you want to display, and then click Send to Live. And your attendees will see this in their screen. So that's what the producer view looks like. I'm going to switch over now to the presenter view. So first of all, as Susan, I'm going to join as a presenter. As a presenter, I can see what is currently being presented, what content is currently being presented, and also speak through my microphone, and that can be heard by the attendees. I can't decide what's on the screen as a presenter, only a producer can do that. So if I wanted the producer to show some content that's on my screen, then I have to share my screen, choose the window I want to share, and then when I flip back over to the producer view, I can see that the presenter, Susan's shared screen, is now available to the live event attendees. And then I can flip back to my own content by choosing share. And it goes back to my content. If I want to show Susan as the presenter, then I need to queue that content up over on the left-hand side. And I want my content in there as well. So this is all queued, ready to go. Click send, and it flips the presenter over on the right-hand side there. So we're all of this is in the pre-live environment. So that means that none of this content is actually available to the attendee. All they see is the event hasn't started yet. So in order to start the event, we click on start and you get that warning. Are you sure you want to start the event? It's just warning you that you can't stop and start, like I said earlier. Click continue and the event starts. So how do we deal with questions and answers? As a presenter and also as a producer, you can see the Q&A screen. So presenters and producers will see new messages appear in this new list. They then have the option to publish or dismiss those messages, and you can reply to them in this pane too. Any questions and answers that go through the Q&A panel will appear in the Q&A report at the end, which I'll show you once we've completed it. So once the live event is finished, you click the end button. That simply ends the live event for the attendees, so they just see the live event is ended. If you were to go to the link later on, or in fact, if you joined the event late and wanted to see the event from the start, then for 180 days, the live event is available. And you can rewind, start from the beginning, start in the middle, fast forward, speed up, as if it was recorded content on their Skybox, for example. As a contributor, so a producer or a presenter, you can remain in the ended Teams live event environment and still talk to each other about how the live event went, for example. You can look at Q&A, you can even add meeting notes. There's also the chat functionality. And once the event is ended, you can leave the event and come back to it at a later time. It remains in your calendar and also in your recent activities for you to come back to. So you can look at any chat, any meeting notes that was added into the event. But most importantly, if we go up to the top right-hand side here and click the three lines, it opens the Teams live event resources page. Here you can download the video recording, download the Q&A report in Excel format. Video recording is an MP4 format. The engagement report, which shows you who joined and when. And you can also turn off the recording if you decide that you don't want the recording available to the attendees anymore. You click this disable button, and rather than being removed after 180 days, it removes it immediately. There's also a backup recording, just in case the recording didn't work for some reason. I understand there are a few questions on Teams live events. I'm just going to flip over to our Q&A a sec. Okay, Ian, recording in an attendee report is what they said and not verified. Anyone might appear appear to have joined in the log. So yeah, the attendee report might not have the person's name if they've decided not to share their name, or it was an anonymous question, even though they have provided their name. So it's not a guaranteed way of finding out who asked the question. That's a good point. I'm having problems with what I see on my screen during live events. I don't see two screens as currently shown. All I see is two narrow screens where I see the top left of people's head or forehead. Is this something to do with setup? Yes, as a producer, you really need to have a large size, preferably 1080p or above screen to be able to actually fit all of the parts of the producer screen in the screen. If you've got a lower resolution or you've got zoom features turned on, then the two screens and all the other elements of the producer screen simply won't fit into the screen, and that's likely what you've got there. Here in the office, I've set up two 1080p screens so that I've got my presentation on one side and the demo environment on one side, and then the producer screen on the other side, so I can see what's going on and what you guys can see. It certainly helps with the flow, being able to see what's going on. How do we publish the recording on our website for public info? Good question, Deborah. A couple of different ways we can do this. If you have access to Microsoft Stream, which you would do if you are using live events, you can upload the video to Microsoft Stream. So it's not uploaded there by default. It only exists in the Teams live event unless you specifically upload it there. So if we went to Stream, stream.microsoft.com, and then sign in as your account. Here we go, sign in. Just to reiterate the licensing requirements for Teams live events and Stream, if you have an enterprise license, that gives you access to all of the features within 365 in order to host a live event. So let me click securely upload, create upload video. And then the recording that we downloaded earlier, I can just drag and drop onto Stream, call it something, and then once it's uploaded, we can publish it. And then we can decide who has permission to view that recording. Stream is only available to users within your organization. External users cannot access videos within Stream. If you want to share your recording with external contacts, either upload it to your website or use another platform like YouTube, create a company channel within YouTube and publish it that way. Stream is designed specifically for videos that are only available internally. Okay. Ian, as you demoed, sharing for multiple presenters is not a great feature. If a presenter shares whilst there is already shared content going live, it replaces it. Only supports one shared screen channel. Yes, that is a very good point. In fact, when we did our dry run yesterday, we were all producers, and actually there's no reason not to do that at this point. Because Teams live events is quite a new platform, there are still some things that aren't as seamless as they should be, and the presenter view certainly is one of those. I think Microsoft's intention was that a presenter can't choose what content goes on the screen, but as you rightly pointed out, just by sharing your screen, it just takes over the live event. So I'm sure there'll be some changes to that coming soon. Camille, oh, thanks. Had to pop off. Getting close to the end of our time here. Understand if you've got to move on. Ian, another question, thank you. A CC option for attendees, they turn who are deaf. Closed captions, yes, very good point. There is a preview available for captions, which is actually built into Stream. Stream is the platform that Teams Live Events is based on. So anything that's released into Stream will eventually make it into Teams Live Events. So captions or transcription is a very clever technology whereby Microsoft servers will scan the video and try to pick out the words that are used and then place the words underneath as a subtitle in near real time for stream events. So this feature is in preview at the moment and is not currently widely available in Teams Live Events, but very much looking forward to that being launched as soon as it is. Deborah's lost sound. I'm just checking my mic is not muted. Anyone else got any issues? I think we can all hear each other. We can all hear each other within the team, so I think perhaps might be an issue just with your application there, Deborah. Apologies for that. Like I said, Teams Live Events is quite a young product. Still quite a few niggles that come along with that. As a school, I've used Stream before and its permissions were private, but other schools could still access it as the videos were trending. I don't use it anymore. Would like to save. So there is I believe there is an educational version of Stream that's slightly different to the corporate one, and I only have access here to the corporate version of Stream based on the fact that we don't have educational licenses. But it is just much like most of or all of Microsoft 365 platform, because you're protected by Microsoft's identity management. Access is protected by two-factor authentication, email and password. It does make all of their technologies inherently very secure, so that only people that are supposed to have access and permissions can actually get access to those files. Sylvia, I can't see anyone else except the presenter, small right-hand side of the screen. Is there a Zoom type gallery view of everyone participating? If so, how do I access this? So in a Teams meeting, as long as you're using the very latest version of Teams in Windows 10, you can see up to 9 people in the Teams meeting view, and that is the default view now. You can switch that to presenter view like you can with Zoom. If you're using a tablet, then you have much fewer options. Personally, for our morning meetings, every morning, I have an iPad and I can only see 4 people, whereas on my laptop I can see 9. So the most advanced features and latest features of Teams will always come to Windows 10 first, because it's the Microsoft developed operating system. I hope that answers your question. Rachel, I attended a live event last month, which allowed me as a participant to see who else was on the call. Rachel, I believe that you may have been invited as a presenter to that Teams live event. Alternatively, it was a Teams meeting instead. I just want to reiterate the difference between the two. A Teams meeting you would use where you want to see all of the attendees through their webcam or audio, or if you've got audio conferencing facilities, they can dial in from an ordinary phone number. Whereas a Teams live event, you would have a select few producers and presenters who you can see and who can present their video and audio, but you cannot see or hear any of the attendees. And that allows the live event audience to be up to 10,000 people, whereas there is a much lower maximum for a Teams meeting. Jane, is there a way of placing attendees into breakout groups within Teams? Well, that would be a great feature if we could do that. No, not at this time. All attendees are in one big pool of attendees. You could create individual group chats and then pop out those chats whilst leaving your main Teams meeting open. That would be a way to achieve that. Phil appears to have lost sound too. I do hope everyone's still able to hear. We had a few issues with Teams live events yesterday whilst we were doing our dry run, but all of those appeared to be resolved this morning. As I said earlier, quite a new technology and quite a lot of people using it during these new working environments. So I think Microsoft are struggling to keep up with the demand. Oh, it's back now. Great. Okay, I may have missed some of your questions. I do apologise if I've missed them. Lily and Laura are doing a great job there answering them by text. Okay. Just going to pop back through some of these questions that were raised that I may have missed. Okay, so Ian, thanks for popping some questions on there. So rather than uploading to YouTube, you want to share 180 days publicly, you can just share the attendee link with anyone who clicks after the meeting will see the video. That's a very good point. As long as you've got public access enabled for the Teams live event, then you can just publish that link and anybody can watch the video for 180 days. Yeah, and another point by Ian, thanks for raising that. So the last 9, you can have up to 250 people in the Teams live event, or the Teams meeting. You only see the last 9 that have spoken on the 3x3 view. Okay, thank you very much everyone for your questions. Really useful, interesting questions to ask and answer. Some of them not 100% sure, but yeah. So it's 11:55, just gone. This is the point where I just want to cover off a few things, how to find more resources, who we are, and then answer a few final questions really. So resources available for you around Teams. Nettitude customers, as you know, you've got your client network administrator and virtual IT director, quarterly visits or video conference calls, as we are currently. They help topics and training from inside teams. To get to that quickly, you can do a /help at the very top in the search box. Then you've got Microsoft Office training, a whole website devoted to training end users and administrators alike on the Microsoft Office and 365 platforms. You've got your Microsoft YouTube videos. Again, there are some specifically tailored for end users, some tailored towards your IT systems administrators. Again, for those Nettitude customers, you've got the Buzz application, which is our Nettitude Service Desk chat platform, also has training built in there, and also our Teams related blogs on the website. So I've been Robin Mayo, I'm the Service Delivery Director here at Nettitude. Please contact me if you've got any questions. We've also got Laura Williams, our Sales and Marketing Manager, who's been here all along, and Lily, who's been answering questions as well. Please don't hesitate to get in contact. It's been really fun, exciting to present a webinar to everyone today. Thanks very much for your attendance and for asking lots of cool questions. And I look forward to seeing you next time at our next webinar. Thanks all, have a great day, see you soon.